Charlie Brown.
I can't believe it. She must think I'm the most stupid person alive.
Come on, Charlie Brown. I'll hold the ball and you kick it.
Hold it? Ha! You'll pull it away and I'll land flat on my back and kill myself.
But Charlie Brown, it's Thanksgiving.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, one of the greatest traditions we have is the Thanksgiving Day football game. And the biggest, most important tradition of all is the kicking off of the football.
Is that right?
Absolutely. Come on, Charlie Brown. It's a big honor for you.
Well, if it's that important, a person should never turn down a big honor. Maybe I should do it. Besides, she wouldn't try to trick me on a traditional holiday. This time I'm gonna kick that football clear to the moon!
Isn't it peculiar, Charlie Brown, how some traditions just slowly fade away?
What's up, mi gente? It's Anthony Rosa, and I'm super excited. We're watching another show on the Roundtable Remedies, and I am your host, Mr. Remedy. And tonight we're going to be talking about how to get through difficult times. And I'm really excited to have these mover and shakers on here. Today we're going to talk about real people with real stories, and we're going to share some real remedies. So with that said, I just wanted to give an opportunity for the speakers to introduce themselves in speaker rotation. Joey, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Awesome. And then next in the speaker rotation, we have Jeff Vannote. Jeff, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Anthony. Thank you. Appreciate the invite.
Awesome. So, what we want to talk about in how to get through tough times is in recent struggles, right? Going into 2024, poor Charlie Brown. But how many of us have had the opportunity where we were asked to take that next step and we weren't ready, or we were late to the occasion, or we just kind of didn't have the opportunity to go into what we want to accomplish because we just kind of have that repetition of failure, right? And so in part one of today's show, I want to talk about a recent struggle that you had to overcome, and I want to talk about how you were able to overcome that. So for those that are watching on the live, or if you're watching on, the replay, I challenge you. Think about some struggles that you're going through. Think about some goals or dreams that you have. And today, I hope that we can inspire, connect, and educate you on how to go from good to great. So with that said, Joey, please, what is a recent struggle you had, and share it with us how you were able to overcome it?
Yeah, so I think one of the most recent struggle I had was all the way back in 2021, the tail end of 2021, going into 2022, I had a client basically not pay me. So I do construction work, and this client basically elected not to pay me. It was about $50,000. And that's a big hit for, I don't care who you are, right? So one of the reasons that happened was follow-up, right? Not enough follow-up. So I had a family trip to California, and I took my family. We went out there, Disneyland. My brother lives out there, so we went to visit him. Then on the way back, we all caught COVID. Okay. So basically, I was down for the entire month of January. And then I get an email from the client saying, hey, let's talk about an exit fee. And I'm like, what? What's an exit fee? I've never heard of that in my construction business. I don't go through that much ever, right? And basically, he wanted to part ways. The only thing is that he owed me $50,000, and I had about 2 days of work left for that project. So I figured, you know what, I got to put in about another $2,000 into the project, and I will be done. And not only that, he did not display any dissatisfaction during the entire, during the end of this project. Everything was going very well. We communicated, and basically he surprised me, right? He shocked me. Okay. So that was something that came out of left field, basically, something that I didn't expect at all. Okay.
What were some of the tough times? I can imagine during that time, and then during COVID, and then expecting that money to come in. What were some of those difficult times? Share with us.
That was really difficult because when you're in bed. So COVID hit me pretty hard as compared to, let's say, my wife, my kids. For my kids, it was almost like a bad cold, right? For me, I was down for a good 2 weeks, body aches, flu, all of that, and I couldn't really run my business at all. And I had several businesses to run. So in that regard, I had to learn how to kind of delegate. And so that was a big struggle, learning how to delegate, where I'm a huge control freak, right? I want to know what's going on every time, all the time, so that happened. And basically from there, yes, there's a huge monetary loss, right? And the good thing was that I did have some savings, so I was able to, cover that loss.
So you were prepared in a sense, right? But
yeah,
who really
somewhat,
prepared for a
but I
loss like
wasn't
that?
prepared for the entire amount. But I was still able to get through it, and then collect on other accounts and stuff like that. So
Definitely. So some of the points there is, keeping that communication, especially if you're in the business world, right? Having that strong follow-up.
yes.
And you want to be disciplined in that follow-up. So what do you think are ways that you've improved, some of that follow-up?
Right. So instead of doing so many different businesses, so I have basically a construction business I run. I have a kitchen cabinet business I run, right? I do a podcast. You were on my podcast not too long ago. I own a restaurant. So you have so many business ventures, right? And then you have all these different things I'm doing in real estate. Have a meetup event. I was doing a nonprofit. So I decided, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do all these things, right? Because you only have so much time in a day. And then also you're not exercising. You're not spending enough time with your family. All you're doing is all these extra things to get your name out there. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna stop doing the real estate event. I spoke with my co-host. I said, hey, you can take over the event if you want to run it, you can run it, or basically, we just stop it. I exited the nonprofit I was in. So these were.
So you had to clear the plate a little bit.
Yeah. These were two things that you have to kind of prioritize, right?
Right.
If you're concentrating on so many different things, you're not going to get good at any of them. So years ago, I was good at just doing construction. I didn't do real estate. I didn't have a restaurant. I didn't have podcasts. I didn't have any of that stuff. All I did was do my construction, came home, play with my kids, play some video games if I had time, worked on my craft after that. And that was it.
What's a favorite video game for those that are watching?
Oh man, I haven't played video games in years. This was actually when my family they took a trip to China for the summer. They were gone for the whole summer, and I think this was like NBA 2K16 or something like that. That's how long ago.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So those that are watching, again, we're talking about how to get through tough times, and I appreciate Joey and Jeff for coming on and we're talking in part one is, of a recent struggle you had to overcome and how, and, those were some great points, having a strong follow-up, creating a process and prioritizing, so Jeff, same question for you. What is a recent struggle you would like to share with us, and how were you able to overcome it?
Yeah, I think based on the amount of ventures I'm involved in, like Joey as well, most things go wrong, especially in market downturns, and especially when you're dealing with money, and especially when you're dealing with business. I would say probably every week there are 3 to 5 struggles or obstacles that your average person would have folded up, 100 times by now. I think that I've shifted my perspective to look at those struggles and obstacles as a challenge to become better. Obviously, I'm human like everybody else, and I don't want to say I've become numb to them, because by no means have I become numb to any struggle or obstacle. I think it's just the perspective of when that obstacle or struggle comes about, how we handle it, right? A recent, I give you 50 examples of recent struggles, but I'll give you a perfect example of, during COVID, we lent somebody our own money, $45,000, because they were trying to complete a construction project and their current mortgage was in foreclosure where they lived. So I attached a second mortgage on their investment property to give them the proceeds to pay their current mortgage right, to get them out of foreclosure. And the lady made $500,000 a year as a W-2, right? So it wasn't like she was self-employed. It wasn't like, she didn't have any income. She was just managing too much, right? So this taking her out of foreclosure would get her fully back on track, and she had the ability to repay. Fast forward, a year later, her loan came due. I granted her another, 1-year extension, like a gentleman. Look, okay, fine, I get it. As long as you're going to be paying, we're good. And 6 months into that extension, I was like, hey, listen, you have another 6 months. Don't forget, but your payments are coming due now. You have to start making the payments out of pocket, right? Because I built the extension fees into the deal. And her boyfriend or husband, whatever it was, went radio silent, right? So hey, the money's due. Hey, guys, just reminding you, I have a personal guarantee from both of you. I have a lien on your investment property. I have a lien on your primary residence, right? I'm in control here. You guys really can't get around this. You guys should just reply. The payment's $450 a month, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm done playing games. I'm a gentleman, I'm a nice guy. But once I pass an issue on to my attorney, my attorney's $475 an hour, right? He's a real deal litigator out of Hackensack. Has his own firm, former Cold Shots guy. So I'm wound up going call it 10 grand in, having her served, getting the judgment recorded, all the stuff that.
And there's a lot of back end stuff that you're doing for her as a courtesy too.
Oh, forget about it. Right now, again, all my loan documents, I learned this the hard way, and I'll piggyback off another story after this. This is really recent. My loan docs state, the borrower signs that in any legal matter, you're responsible for my legal fees, right? So if you don't pay, I have to lay out my legal fees, obviously, but you're on the hook. You're personally guaranteeing if I have to take on a legal cost because of you being a bad person, right? You're responsible for them. But I still have to lay that money out, right? So okay, $10,000, whatever, take the hit, lay it out, get my tax write-off. And then we wound up getting a judgment. So my attorney calls me mid-December and was like, hey, we just heard from such and such. I can't say the name, obviously. And I'm like, all right. Well, I'm like, well, what'd she say? And she's like, she asked if we would stop the legal charges against her. I'm like, well, that's funny. I go, well, where's she been for this? Because this is going on for a long time now. So really we're, call it 15 months of her being radio silent. And I drove past her house. The lights were on, so I knew she wasn't dead, right? I can't go in, obviously, because I'm the lender. It's a big conflict of interest. And she's like, well, me and my boyfriend broke up. I got laid off. My crypto play didn't go as expected. But what had happened was when we got the judgment, I don't know if you know how this works. When you get a judgment against somebody, you serve all the banks to be able to get the execution to collect whatever funds they have and basically freeze their assets. So we wound up freezing her bank account. And she was about to use her debit card or went to the bank to withdraw money. And they were like, sorry, you must have a judgment because X, Y, and Z, operation. basically has your bank account. So, it's interesting because then I text her like, hey, listen, I understand things go on. I said, but I've been a gentleman to you. Like, I did this to help you. Like, to be honest with you, I really don't do $45,000 loans for anybody because there's no money in them, right? I said, we did you a favor, and like no good deed goes unpunished. The fact that you ignored me for 15 months, I'm 10 grand in the hole in legal fees, which is 4 times more than I made total, right? Like, I'll work with you, but you better figure out a game plan, And again, you get the whole song and the dance and this and that. So I share that because, in lending, unfortunately, I say this often, like every time I've made a decision to help someone and ignored all the red flags or maybe went against my better judgment that I've created, it's come back to bite me in the butt. And that's just one example, being in lending and in real estate and having businesses, there's always ongoing litigation and, blindside hits, but like there's always a right way to do things. And I think, again, because of the litigious environment and nature that we're in with so many attorneys needing work, anybody will take a shot at somebody, right? So like they see I own real estate. They see I do bigger loans in real estate. They know I have a technology company. Oftentimes people like to try and take shots to shake you down or, strong arm you, just thinking like you're either going to go away, or you're going to settle, or he doesn't need
so taking advantage of you and your industry experience, and that can definitely happen, and I think that Joey, that part of what you were saying is that you got taken advantage of as well, and on a daily data basis, from a business owner perspective, it's not as easy as it looks, and some of the things that we have to do and the things that we have to go through every single day is a new journey, and we face different challenges every single day. Is just like you said, Jeff, how you handle your emotions and how you handle it. And I always say there's this saying, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing expecting different results, right? And so when we're trying to get through these tough times, right, Jeff, I'm sure, how many times did you call and email and text and not have to go that extra route? And then it's just the moral of it, right? It's like, you're taking advantage of me. This isn't right. It's not like you're broke. You're making money. It's like they put us in positions. They don't know the situations that we're in, or the families that we have to feed, or the bills that we have to pay. And I think as business owners, this needs to be shared.
Absolutely. And again, look, at the end of the day, kind of like Joey said, and look, to some people, $50,000 is nothing realistically, right? And to some people,
it's their whole salary for a year.
Some people will never have $50,000 in their bank account, right? Like that's just the reality of life. From a cash flow perspective, it's not like you're out X dollars. You're out X dollars plus legal fees. So now it's almost like I helped you, and now I'm being charged $10,000 until I recoup all of it, right? So like that's insane. Where it could really get under your skin. And part of my business that I'm in, unfortunately, kind of like Joey as well, is dealing with blindside hits that are unforeseen circumstances. Hey, you bought a fix and flip, for example, Joe, I'm sure this has happened to you. You open up the wall, you realize there's mold, right? Or, you turn on the faucet and realize, the pipes burst, especially this time of year, right? So, I've experienced all those throughout my 16, 17 years I've been in the real world now. My biggest thing that I've focused on is like, always do the right thing, always be a gentleman and communicate. Like, don't be a scumbag. Don't ghost me. Don't go missing. If there's a problem, tell me what the problem is. I'm a reasonable human being,
Just get through it. The best way to do it is to get through it.
People just don't have that pride, and I think that's really what it comes down to is they could give a shit. Hey, fuck you. I'm sorry for cursing. Hey, screw you.
But yeah.
Screw you. You know what? You don't need it right now. I'll give it to you when I have it. I don't have to reply to you. Okay, well, I have the best attorneys in everything that I do to protect me, my capital, and my best interest. So if you want to basically be a scumbag, you're not going to come out on top. And it might cost me money, but out of principle, I'm not going to let you off the hook for that. So that's what I think I've had. That goes on. Look, it happens probably once every quarter with the amount of loans that we do. and you just, get through it. And not everyone's a bad person. Unfortunately, the bad apples ruin it for everybody else.
And we can't bring that over to the next one, right? Like if we have a bad apple, just kind of leave that there, and there's a saying, right? Do what you say you're going to do. And that commitment comes from both sides of the agreement,
Absolutely.
I'd like to kind of talk about part 2 of this, how to get through tough times and talk about lessons from that struggle. So Joey, we talked about, some very important points, right? What were some lessons that you learned from that struggle? You can come off mute.
Yeah, sorry. Again, some of the lessons, basically, how do I say, like, you learn from it, right? And what I'm learning from that loss is you got to communicate a little better. Do the best you can, because now that I'm thinking back on it, it's funny because I ran into the electrician yesterday that worked on the project, right? And he kind of gave me a little bit of update on what happened after. I basically left the project, right? Number one, to this day, they still have not closed out the final permits. It's been 2+ years. So, and the owner tried to get 2 other electricians in. They weren't able to close out the project. So to this day, I'm not sure what exactly is going on, but he had a lot of issues there. And so from there, like I said earlier, follow up, right? Super important to know what's going on with clients, right? But not only follow up, get some type of response from them, learn, like, basically be human with them, right? And know what is going on in their lives, right? So that can help you.
You try to your best to do that until that line is crossed. And as Jeff was sharing, you got to have to be prepared, right, with your legal team. Be prepared with people around you that they have that experience, whether they have to go the collection route, or they have to go the lien note route, right? You want to be with advisors, right? So if you're going through a challenge and you're watching this right now, some of the things that you're hearing is, you have to have that follow-up. You have to have that communication. But you also have those people that are around you that if you have to escalate it, those are your escalations team, So I appreciate that, especially because it's been 2 years plus, and I can only imagine that you're still going through that struggle and the lesson still hasn't been fully taught yet, right? Until it's done and gone by and behind you. And, so I just hope that, everything goes well, because I know there's a lot of people that are in your position and they probably not handling it the best that, they can as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what we did, what I ended up doing was, I spoke with an attorney. We ended up putting a lien on the house. So as far as me, I have a lien on a $1 million plus house. So that's kind of,
you got to protect yourself.
Yeah, you have to, right. And then, moving forward, just better communication with your clients. That's really it. That's all you really can do, because and then just like I was saying earlier, just try to understand the signs that something's going on, and seeing if you can help remedy any type of like red flags that kind of come up right before like these type of things come up. But the thing was, for me, they're being in the business 20 years, you can see it fairly easily. And this one, it just like
kind of fell through the cracks.
Blindsided me,
Yeah. Oh, that blind side.
Yeah, we,
You
we
know,
didn't have any arguments, no kind of like complaints. Hey, like this is no good, that's no good. No, none of that. And even the electrician, he was like, man, this was like one of the top projects I've ever seen. So
that's a
I don't know.
shame.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, what is a lesson from the struggle? One of the struggles that you go through on a daily basis.
I think it's like anything else, developing healthy coping mechanisms. Again, like when you're trying to go to bed at night and you're like, damn, I'm out 45,000, or, this borrower stopped paying. I mean, one thing that, and I could give you 50 people's names that I've personally lent money to, I've never been a tough guy. I've never like not granted an extension fee if they were worthy of it. I've let loans run 18 months, 3 years past maturity date, as long as they were still carrying the agreed upon interest and whatnot. But again, it comes to a point where like you have to know when you're being jerked around and taken advantage of. So, for myself, like I practice, I meditate for like an hour and a half every day in the morning before I go to bed. I do acupuncture. I try and go at least once a week. I have a personal trainer at least twice a week in most cases, depending on the time of the year, sometimes 4 times a week. And I also surround myself with older business people, specifically men, because I relate better to men in most cases. So my attorney's 50, my personal trainer's 59, the strongest man that I've ever met. And, my business coach / shrink is 69, right? So like I'm 37 and I have 3 men, 49, 59, 69 that are all I pay a lot of money to, that I admire and respect because they've been through situations. All of them have kids. All of them are currently married, right? I'm not married, but I have a son. And it just allows me at times to be talked off the ledge. And they help me put everything into perspective, right? Like slow down. Not everything's as bad as it seems. And usually things get worked out, but don't make this mistake
It'll
again.
work out.
So that's
true.
That's what I've worked on.
And I like that. Don't make the same mistake again, right? The definition of insanity. And going back to the video that we opened with Charlie Brown, it reminds me of when, one of the turkey bowls. I don't know if you guys ever played football or got together with the buddies during Thanksgiving and played one of those tricks, kick the ball and kind of pull it away. But, it just reminds me of, it's like that goal setting. Sometimes we don't set it too high, or sometimes when the opportunity is there, we don't take it. So I want to encourage someone that's watching, right? If you're going through a tough time, and keep reminding you, after this video is done, you can go back and rewatch it because there's some amazing points that we're talking and sharing, and kind of rounding third base, talking about setting goals, right? We want to keep it SMART. SMART is an acronym: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timetables. Put some timetables to your goals, right? So Joey, in 2024, what are some goals that you have that you would like to share, and how are you keeping it SMART?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I went to a workshop out in California and also in Phoenix, talking about business goal setting, right? And some of the things that the coach, and this guy coaches for a $20 billion company. Okay. So the reason I went out there is I purchased from this company supplies. So, they own like stores in all throughout the US. And so one of the goals for me is, in terms of my construction company, is to grow the business, right? Now this year I want to hire 2 sales reps. Okay. For 2024, I want to add on 2 sales reps, right? Currently right now, I'm the only, quote unquote salesperson for the company. And basically I'm more like a solopreneur, right? So I'm basically doing everything. So I'm doing the sales, I'm collecting money, I'm creating the estimates, I'm doing the admin work. I'm basically doing everything for my construction company. I don't have any business partners in that. So with that, I want to hire 2 salespeople. Okay, and each salespeople needs to generate a minimum of 600,000 per year. And I spoke with this company not too long ago, and they said, look, to hire a salesperson, commission only, you're gonna have to hire 5 people, and one of them is gonna drop out. So it's basically a big dropout rate. So
Yeah,
I'm
laws
probably
of
gonna have to
average.
hire 10
Absolutely.
people to retain 2 throughout the, for 2024. And I don't even know if they're like the A player or they're gonna be like the C player, right?
And
So
that's such that just to kind of elaborate on that thought, right? Setting goals and keeping it smart and talking about growth and expansion and, the growth of the bottom line and understanding that, it's going to go through a process of interviewing and trial and error. And, there's come so much sweat equity in the training part. So going for that 5 to try to find that one, or, knowing that you're going to have that laws of average that you're going to have to continue to replace, especially from an employer standpoint with employees. Sometimes it's like a revolving door, and that in itself is a challenge.
Yeah, but listen, if you wanna, so these positions are very high paying, even though they're commission only. So if anyone out there wants to try their hand, they know a little bit about construction, they want to come in, and I'll give them training in terms of sales.
There you go. You heard it here, folks. There's a job opportunity. How to get through tough times. You're having a tough time. Maybe start off the new year in a new position, right?
Exactly.
So Jeff, setting goals, right? I know you're a big goal setter. Keeping it smart. 2024. What are some goals you're setting, and how are you going to keep it smart?
Yes, it depends. Most of my goals are really simple, like be a better person, right? It's a subjective goal. Be the best father, be the better or best friend out there to people, be someone people feel comfortable coming to, right? Those are all like the subjective goals that you really can't measure. You hope, based on everything that you do, you're leading in that direction. But, we're in the middle of a very serious 7-figure cap raise for our technology company. We have our attorneys working day in and day out, going through due diligence and transfer of IP and really just setting up, Re-Verify for the next stage, next leg up. So really our goal is not only completing, the due diligence and everything else, but, receiving millions of dollars in, investment capital in order to take Re-Verify to the next level. So that's been, one of our main goals for 2024, and we've strategically held off up until this year to do that. So that's been an exciting, fun, anxious, unknown period of time. But as far as like the rest of the stuff goes, man, like I think the main goal would be really just be happy and like find joy in what you do. I've been involved in a lot of money making ventures that brought me zero joy and zero happiness, and they were big payouts. But at the end of the day, great, you got a nice check, but you didn't enjoy that process. So most of the stuff that I get involved in today, if it doesn't bring me joy and happiness, regardless of what the payout would be, I usually don't get involved in it. I usually need to know like what I'm getting into before I commit to, engaging with a client these days, because, the wrong client or the wrong deal, you might make money at the end of the day, but is it worth it? We have to sacrifice, to be able to make that money.
Is it worth it? Absolutely.
Yep.
I think now, I cherish my time, right? So, being a better dad, having a better work-life balance, taking care of myself, that meditation time, definitely, even growing my team too, right, Joey? I have aspirations of growing my team, as a finance coach. I deal with a lot, especially on the credit side. And, just kind of every day, is a new day for me, and, meeting new people and hearing their stories. And, I really enjoy the fact, and, I try not to personalize it too much, but I try to, create a way where people can understand and interpret the situations that they're in. And from a coach's perspective, creating these, these good habits, right? We talked about the communication and the follow-up, and, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? These are things that a lot of us hear. And so, rounding third base. Right now is the time of the final thoughts portion of the show. And, again, I hope that you are enjoying the show. I hope that you guys are taking a lot of notes and, having a bunch of remedies and takeaways. So, Joey, what are some final thoughts as we wrap up?
Yeah, I think just take it one day at a time, right? But also set big goals for yourself. Don't limit yourself. I'm in a mastermind group, and my the guy that started the mastermind group, he actually is out in Hawaii, but he has a deck building business in Alaska, in Anchorage,
Mm,
Alaska.
that's cool.
So he's operating his business 3,000 miles away. So the big goals there, and so I'm
Would
trying.
that be nice, right? To be able to
Yeah,
work remotely and make money while you sleep.
yeah, exactly. So he does about 4 million a year in business. So I'm trying to get up there as well. So just basically, doing that, right? And but don't forget, it's not only business. Take time to care for your family, have fun with them, and enjoy life, like Jeff was saying. Don't do things you hate. You gotta enjoy your life as well.
It's funny. I recently got this Uno flip game, and it's a roar at the house now. Everybody saves their draw twos and plus fives for the right moment.
Yeah.
It's very competitive over here in the Rose house. Um, Jeff, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think when the moment you begin to look at like the obstacles as opportunities to get better, like you actually welcome and embrace the obstacles that come about. I think it just, like I said, makes you a better person. If you know that there's a 5-foot wall between you and like surviving, I bet you're going to do everything possible to get over that 5-foot wall. Well, you should attack that 5-foot wall the same way you attack that 10-foot wall and 12-foot wall. And if there's a 15-foot wall, attack it the same way and just, get better. And I think people get obstacles as like a negative, but I've probably taught myself to begin to look at them as opportunities, and that's been a seismic shift in how I look at everything that doesn't necessarily come the way I expect it.
I think we had a comment. Do the stuff you don't like first. Eat your veggies. I definitely agree, right? Talking about business and health and family, how to get through tough times. Let's get through it together. As we're wrapping up this show, again, I hope you were able to enjoy, take some notes, rewatch it, tag a friend. Feel free to like and comment on it. Of course, share it. And, right now, I would love to share the quote of the night. And in celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the quote is, "Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle." And Jeff, you shared some of that struggle. Joey, you did as well. And if you're going through the struggle, you have a safe community here in the round table. So please feel free and go in grace, go in peace. Have a happy new year. And if you need anything, you know where we are. I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.